77 Club on Facebook and Instagram, at 77 Club Podcast on Twitter, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Sorry for laughing, but yeah, hello everyone, welcome.
Jack Williams is here.
Hello, everybody.
You're right there. You're going to struggling a bit. And Dan Bayliss.
Yeah, hello, Wolves fans. Our internet will work.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay, so we'll take that out in the edit. Otherwise, it might just sound a bit weird. But we will start with Brighton away, a team we don't beat. We were talking about it last week, Harry. And at half-time, it was looking like we're going to break that duck. At full-time, everybody was very angry.
Oh, man. It was weird because the team I was happy with, we wanted 4 at the back and we got it. It was our strongest team available. Podence was injured, which was a big surprise. But still, on paper, I thought, yeah, we can beat these. Terrible defending, we went 1-0 down. But after that was brilliant. We scored 3. Yes, the Neto one was slightly lucky, but really good for the first half. And I honestly thought we'd just go out and finish them off. But a moment of madness from our most experienced player, Martinho, and then a terrible substitution by Nuno, bringing Kilman on and then sitting back. And it turned out as a terrible 2 points dropped. And I was absolutely fuming after the game.
Jack, at half-time, you were saying this is going to be all about game management. Don't try and go out and give them a thumping. Clearly, Nuno wasn't in the WhatsApp group for that one because exactly the opposite happened.
Yes.
Didn't?
Well, what?
At half-time? The game.
Didn't try,
you thought the game management after half-time was
no,
good? No, 11 seconds ago away a penalty.
I said you said don't go out and give him a thumping. Well, he didn't. He didn't have a fucking shot.
That's what I mean. Jack said, "Don't go out there, give him a thumping."
Yeah, we should have. We should have gone out there and tried to score 1 million rather than sitting in for 45 minutes and conceding 2 and having no shots on target and the easiest header I've ever seen over the bar. We should have tried to smash him.
Jack,
I said that without moving my lips. Brilliant.
Very clever. Have you got someone's hand up your arse?
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it's every week. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, it was just poor, wasn't it? We went in 3-1 at half time. And to be honest, I don't think we played that well first half. Everyone was creaming over it, but I don't think we played that well at all, particularly to let that goal in. It was really, really sloppy. Granted, then we get back to 3-1 up at half time somehow, which, never really happens. And then you're just thinking, right, 3-1 up, away from home against a team we never beat. What don't you do now? You don't give them away a penalty within 50 seconds of the restart. And then lesson 2 is if you do give away the penalty, don't then shit yourself and make a stupid defensive substitution and invite the pressure on. Because let's be honest, at the end of that game, it wasn't as if Brighton just clawed their way back into it. They should have arguably won 4-3 because it was a soft foul that sort of got them. They would have been 4-3 up. I know obviously then Otasawi had a chance at the end, which let's be honest, he bottled. But it was just unlike us, because usually when we shut up shop, you think, teams are very hard to score against us, like Man United a few days before. But it was just shocking. You can't really defend it because you can't even really defend it with the first half performance because I didn't think it was that good either.
To be honest, Harry, that first half performance, it was more about it was more about bad defending Brighton-wise, wasn't it?
Yeah, Brighton are a poor team in my opinion. They've got some big, massive lads at the back, but they're clumsy as hell. And Dunk got absolutely annihilated by Traore, who was the only shining light for me on the day, really. He had a really good game after we absolutely slated him last week. So fair play to him. And yeah, it was just, obviously the overreaction after full time was mad. I've never seen so many Wolves fans call for Nuno's head again. And that's pathetic. We've got to keep Nuno. We're only 2 points worse off than we was last season at this point, as Bayliss pointed out on WhatsApp. So don't get too out of hand, Wolves fans. Bloody hell. Nuno, once the injuries come back, and hopefully we sign a few players this January, hopefully, we'll be fine because the bloke's a really good manager.
Bayliss, I'll bring you in on that because I think you made a few points similar to what Harry made there.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're not in a terrible position. We're just sadly undermanned at the moment. We've got kids on the bench. Notice against Brighton, we didn't have a recognised centre-back on the pitch. Cody isn't a centre-back. He's been turned into a sweeper. Sayes isn't a centre-back. He's been taught to play there, but he's having an absolute ripper at the moment and playing really well. Kilman's sort of been taught to play there. I mean, I know it's the only position he's played for Wolves, but again, he's been turned into a centre-back. And then we go and try and shut up shop, playing a system that's not really Wolves football, which is what confused me. It is a tactical blunder, and Nuno deserves negative press for it, but calling for his head just seems absolutely ridiculous to me, given the position we're in. we are sadly going to have bad runs, especially when you've got a small squad and not enough players to fill it. Then at the same time, you've got to be critical of the club if Wolves aren't given the capabilities to go and recruit now in January. We are short of 3 or 4 players at the very least.
First team players at that. Jack, Mick McCarthy was sacked on Wednesday. Should he be coming back into the fold? Maybe replace Nuno? I know
He play up front.
there's a lot of fondness with nostalgia with Wolves fans. He can play defence. Very good defender.
I said up front, but
Just look at his nose.
no, obviously I don't want us to be trigger happy at all, but it seems to be sort of two ends of the scale. It's either the ones who want Nuno out, or the other side, the ones who don't think he should ever be criticised because of what he's done. And I think most people, rather than the ones you see on Twitter, are probably somewhere in the middle, whereby that performance, particularly going in 3-1 at half time against Brighton and potentially nearly losing the game, is not good enough and it should be criticised. And I know you can look at the injuries, and that's a fair point because you've probably got 5 first-team players out who would be starting. But at the same time, the players that were on the pitch at the start of that second half should have managed the game better. And as I said, you're looking at Martinho, who gave away the penalty. He was your most experienced player. And that's just, you just don't do that because you'd rather just let them have the shot rather than give them the penalty, because once they've scored that, their tails are up there, aren't they? And they're going to come at you. And we just didn't handle it well. And you know, it just rings back to some of the other famous games in the past where we've just sort of given a goal away and then bottled it. But it wasn't a good performance. It wasn't professional. And after 2 good performances against Spurs and Man United, that probably didn't really get the points they arguably deserved. It would have been nice to just have one where we didn't play that well and pick up the 3 points. And it was within our grasp and we bottled it.
No, you're not far off there. I think you're right there, Jack. I know that we're going to be overly critical because it was a poor performance on the whole. But you have to think, we were piss weak. Aït-Nouri, I mean, he got so lucky that was blown as a foul. I don't like criticising the bloke and I want him to be given a chance, but Silva ran around for 70 minutes. I just ran about.
On cold Silva.
I want to bring in that point. Harry with Fabio Silva. It's not working at the moment. He's getting touches in the game because actually I think it was possibly Joe Edwards did a breakdown of sort of the averages and stats around his game, and in terms of touches, he's roughly around the same amount or chances created as Raul Jimenez. Obviously, he's not putting them away. He's getting involved in the game, but a lot of questions are raised and probably rightly so about the price that Wolves paid for him. But there's lots of comparisons with sort of Havertz at Chelsea, £70 million isn't firing all cinders. Van der Beek at Manchester United isn't getting the chances. Is this just something we need to get used to? Is that when you get into this sort of price bracket that you're paying for players, is that sometimes either they're going to be duck eggs, you're going to pay a lot of money for players that don't work out. Look at, I don't know, Mo Salah at Chelsea. That was one that, paid a lot of money for him and it was a flop, came back and is ripping it up for Liverpool.
Yeah, it's strange with Fabio because this season was meant to be back up and just come on every now and then and trust bed in, but he's been thrown into the deep end. He's had a few good performances. He did well when he come on against Burnley, got his goal, but there has been a few games where he's been non-existent. I agree. He was a passenger against Brighton. He just ran round and didn't really do anything. So it's a bit tough on him. And we said from the off, the 35 million price tag was always going to be a big point of discussion. And unfortunately, it goes against him when he does have performances like he did against Brighton.
But Harry, the smug ass Twitter warriors in 4 or 5 years' time will be saying how wrong we are when he turns out to be a top level player, which there's a very good chance he will be. He's clearly a talented lad, but it doesn't help Wolves right now, right this second. He is not the answer to Wolves struggling in the position we are in.
It's not his fault though, is it that?
No, it's not his fault at all. But unfortunately, he's been put in that situation. He's got to deal with it. And he did look very weak against Brighton. None of us are writing him off, but he is in a really difficult position, the poor lad. We are the 3rd worst performing team on form in the last 10 games. Only the Albion and Sheffield United are worse than us.
Why do you think that's very true? And I think actually looking at the last 10 games is fair, and it's a good measure.
Yeah, we're poor.
Do you think, Jack, it should have been an undisclosed fee? Because I'm not quite sure how it works, but when you're signing 18-year-olds for a lot of money, do you think it would help if it had been an undisclosed fee?
For me, it's not really about the price tag because I think it always gets out in the region eventually of how much you paid, or if not, it comes out a couple of years later anyway. I don't think it's the price tag. It's just that if you're a Premier League team who are chasing Europe like we are, then your only fit striker in your team shouldn't be an 18-year-old who's played a handful of minutes in the Premier League. That's the issue. It's not necessarily Fabio Silva, even though it just seemed in the game on Saturday, the ball just bounced off him a few times, and that was it. And apart from that, it was just non-existent. We needed better backup, and we've been lucky. Well, we say lucky, but it's not all luck. It's obviously a great job by the fitness team and everybody in the coaching staff that we haven't had to suffer really very much with injuries. Now, 4 or 5 have come along at the same time, and what we've learned, look at the bench the other day. The bench the other day for a Premier League team who finished 7th in the last 2 seasons was a joke. How many minutes of Premier League
goalkeepers
football? On
it?
2 goalkeepers, all teenagers. God knows, apart from John Ruddy, barely any minutes of Premier League football between them. And that's a team. Do you think that Liverpool or Man City would put out a bench like that in a Premier League game? Even with a COVID outbreak, they will still find a more experience than that. And that's the difference in the levels. And that, again, comes back to Nuno because he wants a small squad. And it's great, but
do you think that needed looking at in a global pandemic of which we knew it was going to be a lot of games in a short space of time because it was always going to be playing catch-up, Harry, wasn't it? We were always going to have a congestion of fixtures. The Cup runs a little bit different, especially with the Carabao Cup with no replays. But do you think that should have been looked at, that you can't work with a 19-man squad during a pandemic, especially when injuries may come into play, but also coronavirus will?
Yeah, definitely. And we know it's Nuno's way, but we have been unlucky with injuries. We know that. But the way today of recording, we've recorded loads of loan players, so we're acting on it. But yeah, it's a mistake. There's no doubt about it. It's something I don't think Nuno thought would happen because of how good our injury record's been under him in the last few years. But it's got to be looked at, and hopefully next summer we do bolster the squad a bit more. And Nuno kind of like looks at his own philosophy, having this really small squad, and thinks we may need a few more senior players. But I think I saw someone on Twitter say like, Nuno does it because he don't want a senior player sat on the bench, someone like Catrone, who's not happy that he's not starting. So he likes having like an under-23s player or something who knows he's not ready to start yet, so he's willing to be back up. That's what I've heard the reason is, but
that's why we are where we are. I mean, Fabio Silva would have been more use in the last 2 weeks, going out and shagging birds and having a party to get the game called off because of COVID.
Oh my God.
I suppose you got to feel for him as well, because it's also to do with the way we play. Because if you're going to play an 18-year-old striker, for most clubs, there'd be somebody else playing alongside him. It's not just a case of, okay, Jimenez is injured, now you're leading the line on your own. It's difficult, isn't it? It's not a job for anybody. You have to have a big physical and aerial presence. And Fabio Silva just doesn't have that yet.
Hey, Nuri, Bailiffs were exactly the same. If you Johnny and Marcel fit, although I think someone put on Twitter, Marcel seems to have the bone structure of a rich tea biscuit once dunked in a cup of tea. So, and to be honest, I can't really argue with that so far. The guy's injured more than he's playing, and that's a problem.
We're in a mess, and the problem is it's all going to come to a head against the Albion again.
Oh, don't.
Imagine if it's 5-1 again. My God.
It's not going to be, but because thank God they're dog shit.
They are.
God, they are terrible.
Now. Just say that after.
Some positives though. I said that there was no chance that Ruben Neves would score, and he scored a penalty, obviously. So when there's no players in front of him apart from the goalkeeper, he's very good. And to be fair, it was a well dispatched penalty. He had a better game actually, and I don't mind saying that he did certainly have a better game. Traore, better than he has been the last
Best
couple
player
of weeks.
on the pitch for me for Wolves. Old Neto, him and Neto.
Oh, do you know what? I'm not going to believe this. I thought Wolves' best player was Semedo.
Oh my life! Great
assist. Why didn't you mention that at the beginning of the podcast? A groundbreaking breaking news.
I genuinely thought we were crap, but I thought he had a good game. I thought Traore did very well. The way he won that penalty, you could see it a mile off. He absolutely played into it. Great.
He was too hot for Burn, wasn't he?
What are you on about? But Burn was our man of the match. Definitely.
He was crap. He was.
I thought Semedo didn't do anything wrong for a change. Didn't do a single thing wrong. And every other player on the pitch, I could have said, you did something wrong in that match.
I sort of agree with Harry. I think Traore was our best player by a long way. To be honest, he's the only one really who could probably after that come out with his head held properly high, because he was giving them all sorts of problems. One was the penalty, and
It's a concern, isn't it? Because when Conley went off, I thought actually that's all their goal threat's gone. Because he was the only one that was making the difference. Lallana, we talked about in the summer, didn't we? A free transfer, was it worth a gamble? Actually, it would have definitely been worth a gamble looking back now, because perfect replacement for someone like Den Donker.
Yeah,
but there you go. So if we just finish on a slightly more positive note, Jack's gone to get a beer to drown his sorrows. Lockdown life. Are we sticking with Traore as man of the match? I know that Jackie was sort of shaking your head saying he wasn't quite man of the match. What are you going to go for?
No, it is Traore. I was making the joke that Dan Burn was our man of the match, which he probably was.
No, fair.
But...
Yeah. Bayliss?
Don't say to me, though. I'll fall off my chair.
I mean, given that Traore did win us a penalty.
I mean, you did just say he was our best player. So
yeah, Traore was our best player, but I still think he made errors. I just think Semedo had a good game in general.
Oh, my life. I never thought to see the day.
There you go. Well, Harry, is it a full sweep of Traore's?
Yeah.
Right. Excellent. Okay, we'll move